All right, guys, welcome back to another race recap. This week we're looking at Formula Fan Championship round 3 of season 3 at Qatar. After last round at Austria, we came home to finish second after a rough go at it, and so now we're tied again with our championship rival Eliminator. Uh, and as far as the constructors go, we're currently 3 points behind Williams. And so, this week we've got a sprint race at Qatar. So we've got a 10 lap sprint race and a full 29 laps. And so we're looking to kind of uh, have a bit of a recovery after a bit of a weak performance last week uh, in uh, in Austria. So just jumping straight into it. We're on our outlet for SQ1 on the mediums. Uh, Getting the tires heated up here is pretty difficult just because we have the hardest compounds available to us, the C1, C2, and C3. So we head into our flying lap, deploy the battery down to about 72%, 70%. Gonna brake just past the 50-meter board. We get a little bit deep on turn 1, but we keep it together into turn 2. You can see us just fighting the car a little bit on the turn in there, and that really kills our run down through here. To put the battery down to 60%, we could definitely take more of the curbs here. I don't think we needed to necessarily lift in that situation. We do set a purple sector 1, which is good. We deploy a little bit better here up to 6th gear before we go down to 4th gear into the fast right-hander. It's very easy to get washed out wide here if you overdrive the car and invalidate your lap. Through the fast right-hander, we get down into 4th gear once again for another pretty tricky corner. If you're not careful as the tires start to wear down, you can really get out on that. You almost spin the car around. Through this flat out section, we didn't need to shift down to 6th gear there, but we do anyway. We're coming through the final part of the lap, and we just get a little bit wide on the corner exit there. But thankfully, I guess the games thought that we gave up quite a bit of time, and so it didn't invalidate our lap. We got 2 purple sectors coming to the line to play everything down to the start finish line, and we set a 22.297, and it's enough to go to provisional pole. But now we're back on board for our final hot lap. As you can see, just pushing very hard. We only got 19 seconds left to get to go ahead and qualify. You can see we've been pushed down to P3. However, the soft runners have gone in front of us, and so there's certainly a chance for us to at least maintain our position. But everybody around us is on softs. We deploy the battery down to 70%, and we hear that our teammate just barely got, or one of our teammates just barely got across the line with 1 second left, which means that Ollie, who's our championship rival behind him, is not going to get a lap in on the softs, and that's really going to hurt him because people behind are probably going to be improving. We're up almost 2.5 tenths in the first sector alone, and so track development here has just been crazy. Unfortunately, we go deep into the hairpin and we lose over a tenth of lap time, and then through this fast right-hander we get it's okay, and we're actually still up. We come back with another tenth, but that's just a tenth that we just left on the board. And now coming into the end of sector 2, going into sector 3, we're stuck behind the RB of Lee, and you can hear me in the VOD that I'm just pissed because I just set a purple sector 2, and now I am up 3 tenths on my previous lap time. And now going into this fast right-hander, I'm just stuck in the dirty air. I turn in a bit early and have to correct, and now I lose a tenth. And then in this final corner, I lose another tenth in the dirty air. And so that just destroys and kills my run up to the line. And I am just fuming because there was so much time to have in that lap. And so I think that there was almost a 5/10 improvement. You can just hear me infuriated in the chat, in the mic, and you can see that I was only 300ths off from being in third place. And so with Qatar being so difficult to overtake, this qualifying is so important, and so that's really difficult for us. But thankfully, our teammate is in first place, so that does help us a lot with the constructor standing. And so we're going to have a lot of work to do in the sprint race. nobody else improved enough behind for our to stop our championship rival from being right behind us as well. They're going to be lined up right alongside us going into the first lap, and so that's going to be critical as well. And so we'll see how the sprint race goes. So coming now out of the final corner, just looking to get our tires kind of warmed up before the start of the sprint race, you can see that they're actually still quite cold. It's pretty bad. And I'm just telling my teammate, hey, like, you want to make sure that your tires are warm, because if they're not, these guys are gonna eat for lunch. So we get a good grid box.
I just hope I don't get taken out.
And you can hear me talking about how I don't want to get taken out into turn 1. That would be a big problem for us. Thankfully, sprint races are only worth, up to 8 points, but any points that we can gain on our rival will be great. And you can just hear me talking to Jeffy about possibly working together. So we can skip. Oh, we'll not skip ahead too much. We'll let it play out, I guess. So we get ready to go racing. The 5 red lights come up, and we're a little bit low on RPM, but not too low to maybe stall the car. We short shift up to 3rd gear, get the battery going into 4th gear. And we get a pretty decent run on B-Star, who forgets to turn his battery on. And so we have a nice go at him on the inside. He holds it around the outside, but then we're going to have the outside going into this corner. And we just brake a little bit later than we normally would to keep our line on the outside, and then going into this right-hander, we just have less distance to drive. And so now we pick up that place, which is great for us. And so now we're looking forward here, looking to see if maybe we can pick up another position on David here with our teammate in front. If he can maybe has enough pace to pull away, then we might be able to have a go at him. Go ahead, David, here, and maybe we might be setting ourselves up for a 1-2 here.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a big advantage if you can dump him.
And you can just hear me talking to Jeffy about, if you can drop this guy, then we'll be in great shape, because I thought that my car had a lot more straight line speed than other people. I was running a lot lower wings than other people. Unfortunately, we get a little bit wide there. Thankfully,
if you lift, you usually don't get one.
The game was generous enough to not give us a track limits there, even though I think that we probably deserved it. And so down the main straight here, you can just see I gain almost 3/10 on the DRS straight here. I don't know if David maybe wasn't deploying, or if I just had a ridiculously high straight line speed advantage. But if we can hold this position here and keep in DRS, and our teammate is already on the precipice of dropping him out, he's 8/10 ahead of our teammate, or 8/10 behind our teammate here. If we can stay in this position for now, then we can actually have a huge advantage going into the next lap. Unfortunately, we get wide again in another corner, but thankfully we still don't pick up a track limit. It's getting very, very lucky with track limits here. As you can see, our teammate Jeffy has just about dropped him. And so we just need to pedal to the metal, full push, try and do everything that we can to stay within DRS here, because not only is that going to give us a huge advantage of being able to save battery and save tires and things like that, but as the race goes on and on, you can see he has a higher downforce, so his tires are going to start going off a lot earlier than ours as well, and so we're going to have a huge advantage here. And so now going into the final part of the lap, you can see that Jeffy has dropped him by about 0.3 of a second, and so he's not going to have DRS on this straight, so we dump a little bit of battery just to get closed up to him, and we get a decent run out of the final corner, a little bit better than David in front. And so now we're going to have an absolute charge down the straight here, deploy all the battery, foot to the floor, 100%, everything, and we just have so much battery to deploy and so much straight line speed. We make a dive to the inside, we get it parked up on the apex. He tries to have a little bit of a look around the right side. We just cover it off a little bit and hold it, and now we're just going to put pedal to the metal again and keep using the battery from our wings advantage, and we're just going to pull away from him. And now, not only that, but we've pulled back into DRS on our teammate Jeffy in front. And so as long as we can stay within DRS here, we're going to be in great shape to pull off a 1-2 here. And you can just hear me talking to Jeffy saying, hey, don't worry, I'm not going to pressure you through the middle of the lap. Just focus on saving your tires, and just focus on driving the car. And so
it's fine, we'll just stay like this for now.
So we'll see what happens here. We'll see if we can hang on to this 1-2. So now coming into the final part of lap 4, just a lap later, we're really, really close to Jeffy here. We've got David behind, but I saw on the previous lap that my straight line speed compared to Jeffy was significantly higher, and Jeffy was starting to be concerned about some tire wear, and so he turns off his battery and lets us through to defend from behind, and so we inherit P1 thanks to a little bit of team orders here. And so now, we're in front of the train here. So our goal is to just push as hard as humanly possible and give Jeffy DRS on every single lap for the end of the race. So our goal at this point was for me to push as hard as humanly possible because my tire wear was actually really good. It was saying that my tires weren't going to reach 80% before lap, I believe, 14. So we were in really, really good shape here. And so our goal was to just pull as far ahead as we can during the middle of the lap to allow Jeffy to have as much clean air as possible, and then as we got into the final part of the lap, just slow down just a tad bit to give him DRS again, so that way he could defend from David behind. And so we kind of keep going at it like that for quite a while. So here we are now going into the first corner of lap 8, and you can see that we've dropped the Alpine behind. The other kick has dropped out of contention completely, and you can see that our teammate picks up a 3-second penalty. Really, really unfortunate, because now we're in a pretty difficult position here. He's going to drop down to 4th place at the end of the race, and so now our objective is, okay, can we try and maybe pull a gap to Ollie on these last 2 laps and see if maybe we can pull a gap to Ollie and drop him out of DRS, like I'm saying right here. And he won't, end up losing those positions
every single lap.
And you can hear me just saying that, yeah, if we're able to drop him, he's been on the precipice every single lap here. We might actually have a chance of securing a 1-3, which is, a 1-2 would be better, but it would certainly be better than if we were not to, if he were to get pushed down to 4th place. Unfortunately, we can kind of skip ahead here, and you can see on the final lap that Ollie is still within DRS, unfortunately, and Jeffy was really starting to struggle with the tires. His tire wear was significantly
4th is a good result.
Significantly higher than mine. And he was a bit discouraged about the fact that he wasn't going to get P2, but it's a long season. These points are really, really important, as you'll see at the end of the race. And so we kind of get to the end of the lap here, and we come across the line to finish P1. Our teammate comes in at P4 behind, and you can just see that our closest rivals in the championship, Williams, who were 3 points ahead of us, have actually not finished in the points at all. They're in 9th and 10th after starting on, I believe, the hard and the soft tire. So the Williams really are just getting it completely wrong here in the sprint race, and then his Oliver McLaren teammate finishing down in 8th place, so he gets 1 point, but us finishing in 1 at 4th is so good for our constructors standings. Now going into qualifying for the main race, we know we have the race pace to pass people, and we know that we're pretty close to being on pace for a win. And so we're just looking to get a better qualifying position, maybe lock out a 1-2, and then just cruise all the way to the checkered flag and hopefully bring home a 1-2 in the race. So here we are on board for sprint qualifying, or regular qualifying, I mean. And our teammate Jeffy decides to give us a tow very generously. He actually went on the mediums, and so he wanted to save those for the race just in case. He actually ends up needing those, so that was the right decision. But this does mean that we actually end up getting a tow here in qualifying, which is big for us. And so here we go into the first corner. We get a little bit deep. You want to be over there on the orange, I believe, and so that's kind of unfortunate. Just getting a little bit of oversteer through the second turn as well, and so it really kind of compromised our exit down to the end of the first sector here. Much better than we were in sprint qualifying through this part of the lap when we do set a purple sector. However, I do believe that these were actually fake purple sectors, but we'll see in just a second. Go through the fast right-hander here. We get a little bit wide, unfortunately, and then we're just not carrying enough speed because we have to slow down the car even more. In the fast right-hander before another tricky left-hander, and we missed the apex there just a little bit. And So now we're deploying all the battery down to the fast, flat-out corners. We got 2 purple sectors, so this is promising. It does look like we're doing well so far. Ear Lufus goes fastest provisionally with a 123.1. We get very wide here, but for some reason, just again, we got very, very lucky in qualifying with the track limits invalidations. We just don't get an invalidation there. And so coming across the line, Eliminator does a 123. We come across the line and do a 121.8, which actually isn't very good. You'll see that our teammate ends up going significantly faster than us, and so it is a good banker.
121.8 is not a terrible banker.
And you can hear me say it's not a terrible banker. We didn't invalidate, which is good, but there's so much time left in the lap. So let's see if we can make use of that opportunity going into the final run of qualifying. Here for our final run of qualifying, we're trying to warm up the tires here.
Slow? Are you trying to impede me or something?
And I'm a little bit angry with Earth Harbor because I don't know what he's doing. And then he comes over and almost crashes into me. I was a little bit concerned about that. That was not exactly what you wanted to see going into your final lap. So we got to try and put that behind us, put the nerves behind us now, and just put to the floor and get going here. Ollie not setting another lap again in the last part of qualifying, but he did go better than us, and we are actually down a 10th because of the lack of the toe. Thankfully, we ended up making up over a 10th and a half already in just the first 2 corners, just from the fact that the track evolution is just so good. Now we're up another 10th going into the hairpin here. Unfortunately, we get a little bit early on the turn-in, and we just lose all of that time. We lose 2 tenths. And so now we got to see what we can do to maybe recover some of that time. So now going into the middle part of the lap here, we're only, we're about equal with our time, which is not good. We need to be improving here, especially considering the fact that our teammates just did a 121.2. So we have a ton of time to try and find here in the last part of the lap. And we're only half a tenth up on our previous time. This is really bad. We even pushed down to P6. If we don't find some sort of significant improvement here, we're going to be in trouble. And so we get super committed to that left-hander, and that does save us. We get about a 10th back from that, and then through this right-hander, we get it hooked up pretty well, and so that gains us an extra 10th. And we deploy everything in the line. We're up 2.5 tenths, but it's not enough to do well. It's a 121.589. I believe my PB in practice was like a 121.3 or something like that. And so
brutal.
You can just hear me very distraught over the fact that I didn't qualify, where I thought that I could be. And so now, we've got a fast driver in the Kick Sauber in front of us, and now we've got Ollie in front of us as well, our championship rival. And so our teammate is on pole again, which is good. But we just have all of the work in the world to do in this race. We're gonna have to overtake again, and there's no guarantee that we're gonna get gifted a free position on the first lap like we did before. So we're gonna have a lot of work to do in the main race. So here we are pulling up now to the grid for the main race. We see that our championship rival Ollie is on the alt strat, which is terrible here. I have never seen the alt strat work out here. Unfortunately for us, we fuck ourselves even worse by messing up our starting position, and now we're stuck super far back.
I accidentally disqualified myself.
And you can just hear me a little bit down in the dumps about that, but we just have to put that behind us, focus and lock in for this race. So here come the 5 red lights for the main race. We get the RPMs up nicely. We drop it into first gear, up through second and third. Not very good off the start, engaging the traction control a little bit too much. But we have a good run on our championship rival here, Ollie on the outside, and we managed to kind of hang it around the outside. We know that unfortunately this may not end up working out for us, but we carry a much shorter line to the apex here and just cover him off on corner exit. And so now we've managed to move up in the first 2 corners back up into third place. And you can just see as the lap goes on that Ollie just begins to absolutely drop like a rock through the field. The hard tires, the C1 tires just being extremely difficult to get fired up compared to the mediums. And so while the mediums fire up in about half a lap or so, the hards are going to take multiple laps to fire up. And so you can just see Dominator behind challenging him for the position and actually taking it. And so, up here,
just dropping through the order already.
up here in the front, we're just looking to stay with our teammate and the kick here again, and hopefully pull off what we were able to do previously. However,
So you carry those guys all over
we
you.
hear from our teammate Jeffy that, hey, I'm not going to be pushing as hard as I possibly can because I need to worry about my tires. I don't know if I'm going to make the one stop, and so you'll see that we do our best here to try and drop the guys behind over the course of the next couple of laps, and we just kind of hold position for a little while. Here you can see now we're on lap 2. We were trying to drop down behind, but just not quite able to. And so we tell our teammate, hey, don't worry about pushing too hard. We're not going to be able to drop him. And you just see the dirty air almost getting us a warning there. And then coming out of the corner here, we get a warning. And going into the left-hander here, we get another warning. We actually don't see that we've gotten a double. And so that puts us in a terrible position. Track limits here is such a big deal. And so you can see that we just didn't catch that we had 2 warnings. So this comes back to bite us pretty bad later on in the race. Now heading down the straight on lap 3, our teammate is under a little bit of a threat from David here. He pulls in alongside, but going into turn 1, Jeffy has the inside line. He hangs it really nicely on the inside, covers off the exit, and then going into the second turn, he just has a little bit of extra straight line speed. I'm a little bit upset because these guys are going a little bit slow battling each other, but in hindsight, I should have been smart. I thought about maybe sending a move here, but I just thought better of it. I didn't think that was going to be the smartest move in the entire world, and then we end up having to lift from the dirty air because we're taking such a compromised line, and that actually puts us under a little bit of a threat from down behind. We have a pretty bad run through that corner as well, having to burn a little bit of battery here through the middle of the lap, and dropping back to 7/10 behind the car in front. So we're trying to have to make sure that we don't get dropped out of DRS here. You can see behind Dominator getting a 3-second penalty, which is very, very good for us. We don't really have to worry about him now in the race. We can just kind of run our own race here. And so David is once again pretty close to Jeffy here on the main straight. He's going to have the DRS board becoming a bit of a victim here on the 4th lap. And you can see David trying to go to the inside, and Jeffy covering him off. We get close in very, very close to these guys on the corner entry. A little bit scary. And they're battling again through turn 2 here.
Problem is you're backing up the field here. We want to run away.
And you can hear me telling him, hey, you might consider not fighting him as hard because we don't want to back up the field here. We want to try and break DRS to all these guys behind.
Okay.
Our teammate not exactly on board with that idea at the moment.
Anything could fucking happen, dude. You get a terrible lucky safety car.
And you can just hear me saying, hey,
guys, so we can make a gap.
If we build a margin, we'll have less of a chance of getting screwed over by maybe a late race safety car or something like that. We have all behind on the alt strat. If there's a safety car at around lap 15, lap 16, right after we pit for the mediums, we're going to be in trouble. Or right after we pit for the hards. So it'd be difficult. Our teammate tells us to
straight line speed when he has DRS.
To get past him on the straight, and we're like, there's just no way that we can do that. But I just tell him, there's no way he's got the straight line speed with the DRS. There's just no way it's gonna happen. I was like, I'm fine to sit like this for now as long as we're pulling away from the field. So going into lap 4 here, things are still about the same as they were. David doesn't have as good of an exit on Jeffy in front.
Getting remotely close to him via DRS.
And you can just hear me like, yeah, there's just no way I'm gonna pass this guy. And so not quite close to Jeffy on that occasion. He gets a little bit wide on turn 1, which unfortunately we're not close enough to maybe send a move here. We're also thinking about, okay, do we want to sit back maybe and try and undercut and just let these guys fight with each other and save our tires a little bit? And you can just hear me saying to Jeffy, hey, I'm happy to stay like this. We're not getting held up. We're pushing pretty hard. At some points, we are having to slow down just a little bit, but it's not terrible. We've got Ollie behind on the mediums, so he's going to have the pace to probably stay with us. But the soft runner of B-Starkey behind, while he's fast right now, he's probably going to start falling back soon, which is going to help us significantly, as we can see that Dominator Ollie is the one who is behind that soft runner, so that might help if he can slow him down. You can hear me arguing with Jeffy a little bit. He's like, well, you should try and attack him, and I'm like, there's just no way that's gonna happen. He's got DRS.
I'm happy to stay like this for now. It's okay.
So just telling him we're good. We can stay like this. It's not the end of the world. We'll be fine. So heading into lap 5 here. We're just kind of maintaining the gap, managing our tires a little bit, just making sure that we are good to go. And Jeffy in front has got a pretty significant straight line speed advantage over David. So even with the DRS, he's just not really close enough to get like a slam dunk move done. And so we're actually just able to chill out behind for now. All right, so here we are on board going into lap 8. You can see I'm a little bit further back. I had a couple mistakes on the previous lap that kind of screwed me over a little bit, but thankfully the DRS is enough to get us pulled back up a little bit. Going into the first corner here, you can hear me talking about how we dropped the soft runner behind, which helps us because the train is now broken. Unfortunately, on the exit here, we get a little bit wide.
Whoa, what?
And we pick up a track limits penalty. Oh my god, 8 laps in, we pick up a penalty. I was furious about this because I didn't realize that we had gotten 2 warnings in back-to-back corners. And so you can just hear me crashing out over the penalty. Thankfully we don't lose our head too much, and we actually on this lap, despite picking up the penalty, we actually dropped Dom behind, which is actually really good for our race. And so despite the fact that we did pick up a penalty, the race is certainly not over. We definitely have a chance of winning still as long as we can get past this guy and work with our teammate. Here we are on the tail end of lap 10. I thought I got a warning here. I don't think that I did, so it didn't pop up on my screen, so if I got a warning, I wouldn't know. Things haven't changed very much. Dominator actually gets back into DRS with the 6-second penalty now. And David goes into the pits for the undercut. We were actually thinking of undercutting to try and jump past our teammate here, but now we're thinking about running an overcut and hopefully getting a big tire advantage to the end with our teammate. You can see Ollie on the hards just hanging around, starting to pick up a couple places now that the soft runner behind us had pit, and Dominator's tires are starting to fall off, so he's starting to come back at us as well. We haven't really pulled much of a gap. We haven't really pulled that big of an advantage on him. And so now we're going to be a little bit under threat by him, later in the race. And so, now at this point, we're just looking to push as much as possible, make sure that we stay within DRS of our teammate, and just get into the pits and have a clean pit stop, no penalties, and just, finish out the race cleanly. Jeffy is asking me, hey, should I undercut? Or should I cover him off? And I'm like, absolutely you should, because he's gonna, the undercut here is going to be very, very powerful. You can just see us having to go through the gaggle of disconnected or players that have left. And so we're just, we got a warning, and we feel like we've been slighted a little bit by the fact that there was a ghost on the track. I don't think that it was actually, in hindsight, the ghost's fault. We should have just kept the level head. Our teammate Jeffy peels into the pit lane, and we actually end up not having DRS, which is kind of brutal. He picks up a 10-second penalty, which is absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. That just ruins his race completely. Our chance of a 1-2 is pretty much out the window at this point. But we just have to give it absolutely everything here in our in lap here, and just try and keep Ollie out of DRS, and just cover off our teammate to make sure that we don't get too big of a gap pulled on us. As our teammate comes out of the pits, we can hear him say over the call that the hard runner, or the David in the kick, had actually undercut him by over 2 seconds in just over the course of 1 lap. So we know that coming into the pits this lap, we are going to be in trouble. I mean, we are just going to be in no man's land coming out of the pit lane. So we're just going to need, ultimately high max pace to try and do this. And so we actually end up not using enough battery, and we break a little bit early to make sure we don't pick up a 10-second like our teammate. But we did not use enough battery on the in lap. So that costs us quite a bit of time. Ollie is unleashed into first place in the clean air. We get it stopped. We get the pit stop done quickly. We open up the race director, and we see that we got a double warning, and we're looking at everybody's track limits to see who has warnings, who doesn't. And we see that Ollie actually has 0 warnings, which can be a huge problem for us because he's our championship rival. He's the guy who's closest to us. So we come out of the pit lane, and we're about 2.3 seconds behind our teammate here, 2.4 seconds behind our teammate. But you can just see over the course of this lap, our hards are so cold. They're so understeer. They just do not. They just take so long to fire up that we actually end up losing more time over the course of this lap. You can see we've already dropped a 10th, and we're gonna end up dropping another 10th, almost 3/10 in one sector alone. And you can see coming out of this corner as well, our tires are just not quite up to temperature yet. Jeffy on the precipice of picking up DRS onto David, so the undercut not exactly working outside of picking up track position. But the unfortunate thing for David is that he has much higher wings than both of us, and so if we're behind and he has DRS in front, if he doesn't have DRS, he's just going to be a sitting duck. And so Jeffy is just 300th, 100th, just barely within DRS. It's on the absolute precipice of not having DRS, but he ends up getting it for this start finish rate, which is big for him, but actually kind of bad for us because now these guys are going to start These guys are going to start possibly driving away from us, and so we really need these guys to actually start battling with each other as we continue on into lap 14. Jeffy saying the fastest lap on the new hards. And you can see we went purple in the first sector. We set a personal best in the middle sector, so we're actually, these tires are starting to get up to temperature a little bit. We're starting to kind of pick things up as we head into the last part of the lap here. We have to lift a little bit through there, but not that big of a deal. Tires are still getting warmed up. Brake a little bit too late for the final corner. Compromises our exit just a little bit, but you can see in front, Jeffy and David are about to start going at it with each other. We do not set the fastest lap of the race, but we can see in front that the two, our teammate and the kick are starting to really go at it with each other, which is going to slowly start bringing us back into contention. And you just see throughout the following couple laps that these guys are just battling and battling and battling with each other as hard as they possibly can. You can see we've already gained almost a full second to these guys, and now we actually have gained a full second just because these guys have been battling with each other through the middle part of the lap. Jeffy's still able to hold on to the net first place, but these guys again going side by side through the middle of the lap, just a huge benefit for us. Now we're down to only a 2-second gap. So their undercut advantage is just slipping away completely, and we're coming through on 2-lap fresher tires. We're gonna have, this is just eliminating all of the work that we were going to have to do to get caught back up.
Dude, what is he
to
trying to go
our teammate. And you can see me just like, what is going on here? This is just the dumbest. This is just bad for both of their races. If they wanted to stay ahead, they needed to work together with each other. But now we're not going to get DRS this lap, but we might as well be caught right back up here. And so now, going on to the main straight, these guys are still battling with each other. And so going down the main straight, we don't have DRS, but we still have a tow, and so we're just going to be right in there. And these guys are battling. They're going side by side into the first corner. Jeffy pulls to the inside, then he goes back to the outside and just has to just stay behind for now. But he's so close to the kick Sauber in front, and so going through the second corner here, he gets a much better exit, much cleaner line through there. And so now he's going to actually have a run on the kick, and he's going to think about a move to the inside. He tries to throw a little bit of a move, but that doesn't work. And so now, he's deploying a little bit of battery here, thinking about maybe another move to the inside, which is just compromising his time. And now we're just right on his gearbox. We basically caught.
Good job slowing him down. I think the best move in this situation is to let me through.
And you can just hear me saying, hey, I think in this situation, your best move is going to be to let me through and let me have a go at this guy. Because I know that my pace is going to be faster than him. And if I can drop him out of DRS, he'll be easy pickings for you. But our teammate tells us, hey, just let me have another go at him here, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll see what happens. But he is just right on his gearbox going through the last part of the lap here.
Spend battling, Ollie is going to catch up from behind on the mediums.
And you can hear me just warn him, hey, every second that we spend battling is time gifted to Ollie later in the race, who's going to be absolutely rapid. And so now, we're behind.
That's an illegal move.
On
he has to stay committed there. He can't move again.
And
that's illegal maneuver.
So now we come through, and
that's an illegal maneuver.
And I don't know where we picked up all of these warnings from, but it gives us a 6-second penalty. We go back. We have a massive run here. He already makes 2 moves, and then he makes a third move on the straight here, which is actually not allowed. But it gives us the opportunity to come through here, and we have the overspeed, but he comes back across and actually makes contact with our front left wing, which makes us have to go off the track, which gives us another 3-second penalty. But keeping our head down, keeping focused, we're trying to...
What is this guy doing?
Trying to keep it on track. He's going very, very slow to the second right-hander, which is, pisses off us a little bit.
Fighting here is time that Ollie's going to catch back up.
And now that I have a 6-second penalty, I'm really starting to worry that if Ollie starts catching back up, we're not going to maintain this.
Think about
maintain the position.
Your best position, not fighting this guy who's going to jump you. I'm not going to have a 6 seconds, so.
Yeah, I'm telling him here, hey, I was a little bit forced off. If I don't pick up any more warnings, I should be okay. And I'm just warning Jeffy, hey, you have 10 seconds. It's not worth it for you to fight this guy. You're not going to gain anything by fighting this guy. You're just going to bring these other guys behind you, like Dom, who's almost within 10 seconds of you. He is 9 seconds of penalties, but you're going to start bringing these guys who are further back into contention here. And so Jeffy actually moves out of the way in the middle of the lap. A little bit weird, but actually it was genius. Absolutely genius maneuver, because now with a full battery, we're going to have DRS on the straight here, and David is not. And he gets a little bit squirrely on the exit there. He pulls to the inside. We weren't quite ready for it. But we end up getting back into the toe here, and we have DRS. And so we have the huge advantage, the peak overspeed going down into turn one. We have the inside line. We brake late, get it parked up on the apex, and just take it very, very slow. We deploy the battery into the turn two, and we keep him behind. And now we've moved up into first place within this race. And so now with the P1, obviously thanking our teammate for the excellent teamwork there. I mean, absolutely masterclass of a move. And he gets past the kick Sauber behind. And so now it's such a huge benefit for us, because now Jeffy can just fight the guy behind, and we're just going to run away with this race. We're just going to, drive as fast as we can, as many clean outs as possible. No more warnings to hopefully get that 3 second taken away. And we're just going to push
for the rest of this race.
Push flat out for the rest of the race, and hope that Ollie doesn't catch back up. But this sets us up absolutely fantastically to pull this big gap on the rest of the field, so that way this 6 second penalty doesn't come to bite us back in the ass.
Yeah.
Now we're on board going into lap 20, and you can see that our teammate behind Jeffy is telling us, hey, we might have to think about a 2-stop. But you can see that we've pulled a 4.5 second gap to second and third place.
You may not need to, actually. I think you're going to be fine. Right now it says I'm going to make it to lap 33. I think you're going to be fine.
Can you just hear me telling Jeffy, hey, you may be able to stay out if you want. And now all of a sudden Ollie starting to come through on the mediums, and he's about a second a lap faster. And so at that pace, he might actually end up getting within our 6 second gap by the end of the race. Little did I know, he actually had a puncture on his way into the pit lane, which cost him a ton of time coming into the pits. And so he actually would have been a lot closer had he not had that puncture. So that's a big problem for us. If he comes within that 6 second gap, he only has to make up 6 seconds in order to inherit a position off of our mistakes. And so getting a very good run through that corner, we get behind the disconnected Alpine, and we're able to take DRS off of him, which will actually help us so much down the straight here. Obviously increases our straight line speed by so much. So now Jeffy goes into the pit lane, 13 seconds worth of penalties, and unleashes David to come after us on his hards. And so we'll see what his race pace looks like, and his teammate B Starkey behind, also with no penalties, also within threat of actually passing us. He's only about 2 seconds off from being within our penalty gap. And so we just need absolutely no more penalties the rest of the race, and we need 100% pace, absolutely everything, all the way to the end of the race. Here we are heading into lap 24. We pick up DRS off of this lapped car, which is fantastic for us, really helping us. Unfortunately, I was a little bit upset with the fact that he just stayed in front of us for the entire lap, but it actually ended up working out for us. We ended up getting up DRS, and you can hear me say, "Oh yeah, Ollie's not going to catch." His pace was absolutely rapid. He was about a second a lap faster than us over the last couple of laps. But after about like a lap or so ago, I noticed that I was starting to actually pull even lap times against him. You can see he's dropped back down to 13 seconds, and so I think his mediums were starting to fall off at this point. So we're actually going to be relatively safe as long as we don't pick up any more penalties and just bring the car home. We should be in pretty good shape. So at this point of the race, we're feeling pretty good about our chances of finishing in first place. Don't make any more mistakes. We should be good to go. Our teammate behind Jeffy ended up having to pit a second time, but you can see that Dominator had 12 seconds worth of penalties, and Jeffy actually was able to serve his 10-second penalty in the pit lane, so he only has 3 seconds worth of penalties. So if he can get within 9 seconds of Dominator ahead, he will actually inherit P5 at the end of the race. And so earlier in the lap, I was telling him, hey, he has 12 seconds of penalties. Just push as hard as you can for these last couple of laps. You should be absolutely flying on these mediums. And so we're pretty secure in our P1 position. We just need to bring the car home safely. But let's see if Jeffy cannot make up enough time to come home with a P5. So now coming into the final part of the last lap, you can see we're pretty comfortably in P1. And if you look at the track map at the bottom left, we can actually see that our teammate is within 9 seconds of Dom in front. And so he's actually going to likely inherit that position off of Dominator. And so we actually forget to use all of our ERS on this lap, just like with our pit lap. A bit of just small mistakes here. It didn't cost us very much, but we come across the line to finish in P1, a fantastic result after having struggled quite a bit in Austria with the wet weather. Our teammate Jeffy comes across the line and jumps up to P5, which means that we actually end up. I didn't get a picture of the timing board, but we actually end up outscoring Ollie by 12 points, which is so big for our race. And you can see here at the end that the Williams are down in 8th and 9th, so they're off in no man's land. They're not going to get very many points from this result. So this is a massive result for us. It's going to create a really nice margin going into next week at Azerbaijan, which is also going to be another sprint race. So good result from us. I will have the updated standings next week whenever I do the recap for Azerbaijan. But thank you for watching. I hope you guys tune in to the next one.